killer whales. And luckily, there are a number of conservationists and scientists and organizations like SEAWORLD that are working to find out more about killer whales and how we can help them. And SEAWORLD is super proud to be a part of that. And one of the really incredible things is that all of the different ways that we take care of these killer whales, the ways that we can make sure that they are healthy, that's information that's being used to help those killer whales as well. So the observation and research of the killer whales in our care is directly helping to solve some of those problems and to find out more information to conserve wild populations. So earlier we were doing a husbandry session, and some examples of husbandry behaviors, which is anything related to healthcare, or the ways that we make sure that these guys are healthy, include things that sound pretty simple, like getting a weight, asking them to slide out onto a scale. Or right here when they show their tail flukes on the side, that's a nice calm behavior where we can draw blood from the blood vessels there. They're trained to exhale onto a petri dish so we can study what's in their lungs. They're trained to hold still on the side of the pool in different lineups or body positions so that we can do ultrasounds. We can see what's going on the inside of their body. So anything that our veterinarians need, we work on training to make sure that these guys are as healthy as they can be. Looks like they're going to give you a big old wave there. So those husbandry behaviors help us to make sure these guys are taken care of. But during those behaviors, not only is that information valuable to make sure these 5 killer whales are as healthy as they can be, but we can learn a lot from all of those samples. We have the ability to test their blood in the laboratory. We have the ability to test different hormone levels and find out all of these baselines in what's normal for adult or not, actually killer whales of all different ages, males, females, throughout their lifetime, what's normal and what's healthy. And then that information is very valuable in being able to study the wild killer whale populations. Examples of specific studies that I'll briefly go over, because I know some of you have already heard it, include the studies such as the milk study, which is where we collected milk samples, blood serum samples, in different body measurements from pregnant and lactating adult females to learn about the transfer of different things from female killer whales to their calves. And this information was used by scientists, and it's currently still being used by scientists, to learn more about the health of that southern resident killer whale population, because one of the things that they seem to really be having an issue with is that even when they have successful births, the calves are not surviving more than 2 years. And so one of the theories is that those pollutants, those chemical pollutants I was talking about, are being transferred from the mother to the calf, which oddly enough is actually good news for the mother because she's offloading some of those chemicals, which they theorize allows the females to live longer than the males who cannot do that. However, definitely not good for little baby killer whale calves, right? So these little whales are coming into the world and then literally through lactation and gestation just immediately have these chemicals in their body. I do want to make it clear that the chemicals we're talking about we no longer use. So the legislation has been passed that those are illegal. However, the damage has already been done. As persistent pollution, that means it never breaks down. It never goes anywhere. It's never going to become something else. It's just going to kind of continue to live in the environment. But studying how it's transferred and how it works and how it affects killer whales can help scientists kind of continue to make the best choices possible as far as managing those whale populations and passing laws and legislation to make sure that they're protected again in the future. And we want to fund research into the possibility of, is there another way? This is something I've just recently heard. It's not proven, it's not out there yet, but tons of research going on with fungi and mushrooms that they might actually be onto them breaking down plastics and possibly POPs, or those persistent pollutants, as well. So all of that is super important for us to invest in, to support and fund, which SEAWORLD is a part of, funding lots of research out there to make sure we're able to come up with solutions to the threats that the southern resident killer whale population is facing. Again, because we know exactly how old the killer whales are here, we can measure how long they are, how wide they are, we can take pictures of them from up above, we can weigh them. We have all this information. We've done all of those things working with groups like NOAA and National Fish and Wildlife, and they're able to have a model of what a healthy killer whale looks like. So when they go do their aerial surveys, when they're looking at wild killer whales, trying to get a count and trying to determine the health of a population, they know and have a model and an example of what healthy looks like, and that helps them, again, determine the health of that population, which can help determine the necessary management laws that we need to put in place to make sure that they are protected. And then another study is the hearing study, where we train the killer whales to take a hearing test. So they went underwater, and we trained them to blow bubbles when we played sounds, and if it was able to be perceived by them, they would blow bubbles. And in that way, we were able to determine the hearing range of killer whales, which had prior been completely unknown, but was super important information to have, because noise pollution is a pretty major threat to southern resident killer whales, but really killer whales in general. So hearing is super important to them. It's how they communicate with one another. It's also how they navigate their environment through echolocation and hunt. So if they can't hear each other, or are being interfered with by vessel traffic, that's going to affect their ability to survive. And so we were able to tell them exactly what their hearing range is, which I want to say is 5 hertz to 81 kilohertz. And from that, we were able to determine that, yes, the vessel traffic noise is definitely within their hearing range, and therefore we can prove is something that's going to interfere with their normal ability to hear. So now they're working on creating acoustic sanctuaries, or basically safe, quiet places for the killer whales to make sure that they're able to behave normally and interact with one another, hear each other, and more easily find food, which of course would be very important in the long-term survival of those southern resident killer whales. All right, I know we only have a few more minutes left. I do very quickly just want to thank all of you again for your time, for coming to spend with us to get this behind the scenes look, and also for your support, because all of the research I'm talking about, all of the care I'm talking about, and the conservation of the southern resident killer whales is possible due to your support and visit today. So we thank you, we appreciate you. We're going to be hanging out for a little bit longer. Super happy to come around and answer more questions. Trust me, we can talk about killer whales all day. But I will be off of the microphone, so thank you so much, folks.